Hey everybody, my name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on guests that are real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things Florida real estate on how you can take your company to the next level. Well, I have a dynamic duo guest for you today. The two guys that are taking over the wholesale market of Northeast Florida. They're coming for the whole state of Florida eventually. They're spreading out into Texas. They're spreading out into other markets, but they are the kings of wholesale when it comes to the Florida market. Not only that, they have their own show called the People's Wholesaler Show, and they now own the Jax REIF show, which we will talk about, the meetings that are here in Jacksonville, but they are big time investors. They have their own company called Geeks, and they are incredible guys. They are full of knowledge. They have an amazing team. And with me, I have Dominick Felix and Gonzalo Corzo. I don't ever call them that. I call them Dom and G. So Dom and G, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Thank you so much for having us.
You got it. And I'm happy I got G. I've been waiting to pin down G for so long.
I know, man.
I got him, and he's here. And you two have truly been really taking over a lot of the wholesale markets. You are not only just investors, you are business people, and you are leaders when it comes to the clubs in our community, the Yellowbird group, the Jax REIF group. So when I do my opening and I have that whole segment about, here are the people I'm bringing on, you are the culmination of most of that. So awesome. People really want to hear where you all, what are you all about? Who are you? How did it even get to this point? What were you doing beforehand? And now what are you doing?
Cool. So I'll just start it off. So first and foremost, we're really interested in building a nationwide company, right? And when you do that, you have to think on the macro level instead of the micro level. So for G and I, it's not really about the deal and we want to, focus on this one deal. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for the team, for the buyers, for the sellers in order to get our long-term goals, right? We want to have great relationships with our buyers and our investors. We want to have the sellers respect and we want to service them. And we want to take everything that we're doing and reinvest as much as possible back into the company and expand the team. And that's the only way we're going to get our goals as fast as possible, as far as, us being on board as a national company.
Right. Yeah. Go for it, G.
Basically, we focus primarily in wholesaling. We don't really do, there's a lot of people that are doing a little bit of everything. We like to, for right now, we like to focus on one thing and become the best at it, right? Laser focus. And I know that is one of the things that has gotten us to where we are today, is just focusing on wholesaling.
Yeah, and sometimes it's tough, Al, sometimes it's tough because you have a deal, you can wholesale it, but you can flip it and you can make a little bit more money. But the thing that I think that's very concerning for us, and sometimes people don't anticipate it, is, all right, so you have a wholesale deal, you can make $25,000, or you can flip it and rehab it and potentially make $35,000, maybe more. And these are just general numbers. But how much disruption is going to come from this whole new process? Because it's not as easy as just saying it. And that's, people just look at what they're saying. They're not thinking about all of the moving parts. So if we're a wholesale company and we've built everything around marketing and sales, now you're talking about recruiting field personnel, right? You're talking about coordinating supply drop-offs and all these moving parts and inspections. And you're talking about getting a property ready for conventional lending, FHA lending, which is that's a whole nother world, right? I've done repair work in the past and I have somewhat of a familiarity with it. G's not a hands-on fix it kind of person. So that is not our realm. So, and another thing is, if that's going to create a lot of disruption and take way more time, how many of our deals, wholesale deals, could we have done in that time? So in actuality, are we making more money or are we hurting ourselves, is one of the things that we always talk about.
Right. So before you both even got here with the Geeks, before you even were RLA, what were you doing beforehand before you got to this point of then you became RLA? Because it couldn't have just been you two. And then growing the team. I mean, what were you doing to do it? Because so many people that have ever wanted to grow a wholesale team or grow a team, it's not just you two are investors. You learn how to be leaders in your own business. So what were you doing before that got to this point?
So if I'm going to answer that question, I'm going to need my attorney present. No,
He's there. He's on the other side of the screen.
Right?
There's no attorney-client privilege, right?
Right. I mean, to me, before I got into real estate, I got into the game at 19. So I'm super privileged to have had that opportunity. So I was going to college to become a police officer. I was getting my AA degree in criminology, and then after I got my degree, so that I can make my parents happy, I was going to go into the police academy, become a cop. And my older brother, he's a realtor in Austin, Texas. He's been in real estate for a couple of years. Well, at that time, he had been in real estate for just a couple of years, and he was trying to push me to get into real estate as well. And I didn't really want to do it. But then he took me to a real estate event. And after that event, 2 weeks later, I dropped out of school, convinced my parents to give me a couple months out of school so that I could, start this real estate journey. From there, I found a mentor and found somebody that would allow me to work for free so that I could follow them around and learn everything about the business. That led to a partnership of wholesaling. In that partnership, I learned everything about wholesaling, did a ton of deals. And then while I was doing that, I met Dom. Dom had his rentals on the market, and I had a fund that I had to funnel turnkey rental properties into. And, one of his houses was on the market. I sold one to that fund. Then I ended up selling 5 of his rental properties to that fund. And that's how Dom and I connected.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody knows that one, but yeah, that's great, Dom G. And Dom, how are you getting involved in all of this before RLA Cash Geeks?
Yeah, so my background, basically, I'm a call center rep, right? I am a grass mowing call center rep. So I was a call center representative, and I was doing collections and retention sales, and I wanted to go into business for myself. So I started a grass cutting company, and I was able to get that off the ground really quick. In about 4 to 6 weeks, I was able to replace my salary in the sales position that I have. I was doing about $70,000 a year. So I was able to accumulate enough customers to replace my salary and start mowing grass for a living. That led me to doing repair work for a national company that pays like triple or quadruple what a typical grass cut would cost in relation to the type of work that they gave me, right? So because there was so much big spread, I started building crews, and I started hiring vendors, and I started subcontracting the work. And then you fast forward 5 years later, we were in 8 states and 120 field vendors working exclusively for my company. So what I did was that was my learning process of how to build a business, delegate, succeed, fail, things like a lot went on inside of that 5 years. That gave me the business growing experience, and it helped me learn how to have faith in others as far as delegating what people protect so closely to them. You're doing your work, you know how to do it, you feel like you do it the best, and you're bringing someone on that completely knows almost zero, and then you have to train them up, and then one day let go of the vine and just let them do the work. So I learned that through that process, and because of changes in the market and a lot of other things that have gone on, I decided at one point in time to take myself out of that industry. And throughout that process, I met Gonzalo, and I was selling some rentals on the market, things of that sort. Now, when I was buying real estate, I bought real estate from a wholesaler in the past. And when I learned about the wholesale process and I researched it, I thought of it as the number one best way to acquire real estate at the deepest discounts. And then when I really researched it, I saw it, when you're looking at it as a potential large corporation, like if you want to truly grow it, there are so many hats that has to be worn, and it's very, very involved. And I didn't quite take action right then and there. But once I met up with Gonzalo, we started talking, piecing the parts together and the potential. And then we took a shot and started dropping certain marketing campaigns and doing deals. And then we took it from there, and now it is what it is today. So we have 16 or 17 people here in the office. We're in 3 markets. We just launched our 3rd market this week, which we have contracts in already, which is awesome.
Tampa. We're in Tampa.
Nice.
Yeah. And we're really just getting started. I feel like now for me, I think I could speak for him probably too, really now have the confidence that the company is oiled in the way that it should be, so that we can truly progress over these next couple of years.
Right.
Yeah, the Tampa market is an amazing market, and I've talked a lot about that with the whole probate world and how the whole baby boomer era is coming in, and we're getting to 2037, and a third of all the real estate in Tampa is going to be somewhat probate, guardianship, trust issues. So that's a whole other market on its own. We'll talk about that. So Cash Geeks, you're in Jacksonville, you're spreading out, but you have a team under you. You have sales, acquisitions, closers, just speaking things and naming things. I have no idea what any of that stuff is.
You name it, we got it, Al.
Yeah, you said the same thing 3 times: sales, acquisitions, and
sales, closers, negotiators. One person, Al.
You are the masters with this stuff. I know I'd hire the wrong people. I'd be like getting so much volume, right? Talk to us about Cash Geeks though. Like, people out there that will hear the podcast won't just be in Jacksonville. They'll be in Tampa. They'll be in Orlando. The people that I have on the show are not just Jacksonville. They're going to be in Broward, Miami. So, promote that Cash Geeks group and talk to us about the business that you're running, the people that you have there. You're growing. You just moved offices. I saw the office before. Now you are moving in almost like a penthouse style office. It looks amazing from the pictures. I can't wait to be there one day. And talk to us about that Cash Geeks group.
Yeah, definitely. The reason Dom and I aligned as business partners is because we both have the same common vision of where we want to get to, right? Dom and I both don't want to be self-employed hustlers forever, right? And we both knew that getting into wholesaling, the purpose of wholesaling for us was to build a business, right? And to have a team under us that's able to do the deals for us so that we can just focus on expanding into other markets, growing different divisions of the company, whatever. And then eventually one day either sell the business, cash out, right? Which is an option, or, just delegate. We both know we want to have a CEO. We want to have a COO. We want to have those people in place that will continue to grow the business for us. And then once we get there, then we will start using the money that we have to buy real estate and hold, right? But we both know that we don't want to buy and hold real estate until we achieve the goal of truly building this company as an asset, as a true business, right? Because I learned early on that just because you own an LLC doesn't mean you're a business owner, right? There's a lot of majority of people in real estate are self-employed. They're not really business owners, right? They're just highly paid self-employed individuals, which is awesome, right? But Dom and I both want to be in that business quadrant, and we'll talk about that later on. But that's what aligned us. So we knew getting into it, like, we need to do deals and we need to make money, but we also need to replace ourselves in every department and every step of the deal, right? So in the beginning, it was just us, right? And it was me doing a lot of the boots on the ground, the legwork, Dom working behind the scenes on the business, right? Pulling lists, skip tracing, sending the mailers out. And then I would take the calls. I would go to the properties. I'd price them out. I'd send them to my buyers, and then we do deals. Luckily, I had years of wholesaling experience and tons of deals under my belt. So when we kind of partnered up, we were able to do deals very quickly from the beginning, right? And we both knew we have to start replacing me, right? I can't take the phone calls. I can't go to the properties. I can't talk to the buyers. So when we got into business, we knew from the beginning, as soon as I do a process, I tell Dom, hey, this is what I'm doing. These are the questions that I'm asking. Dom whips it up into a script. Dom posts an ad out. We hire somebody. Boom, this is your position. Now this is what you're going to do, right? Now I'm talking to buyers and I'm pricing the properties and I'm talking to buyers trying to show them the properties. All right, let's replace that, right? And slowly that's what's led us to have a marketing department, a projects department, a acquisition department, a disposition department, a transaction coordination department, an HR manager, right? And
administrative roles.
And inside of those departments, there's different roles, right? So we wanted to create that cookie cutter assembly line process to wholesaling, right? We don't like people wearing multiple hats. As soon as somebody is wearing multiple hats, and there's people still in my business wearing multiple hats that we're working on dividing up those responsibilities as well. As we do more volume, that will allow, the volume will allow for us to hire different people that do one thing specific, which is what we have built the business to do. And that's allowing us to go into other markets.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add too, because we talked about our process. Now, traditionally, what we've seen out there, the path of the real estate investor, right, starts kind of with wholesaling. So if someone has very little bit of funds or no money or whatever, the idea is to start wholesaling properties. So you get a property that a seller wants to sell, you put it under contract with the intent to purchase it, and then you get an investor that's interested in it, and you assign it over for a fee, $5,000, $10,000 or so. And once you start building up that cash, next step is, become a rehabber, right? So you can make bigger spreads on fewer deals, right? So once you start doing a certain number of rehabs, and it's different for everyone, and you build up that cash flow, you take the cash and you start buying rental properties. So these are buy and hold assets that you own, hopefully indefinitely, and it produces cash flow every single month because of the people that you rent them to, right? And then the idea would be to build up enough rental properties so that it replaces your active income, so that you could either live off of that, continue to grow it, or you can retire early or one day, right? And that's the path, the most popular path of real estate investing, right? And we just looked at it a little bit differently. We wanted to laser focus and be super great at one thing, which we chose wholesaling. And then when Gonzalo talked about the executive level personnel and we want to still be on the chair, you either sell it or you keep it, whatever, and that would be our passive asset instead of the traditional path.
So what you both talked about, so valuable. G, talking about scaling, what you had to do, you were an all-in-one shop with the wholesaling, and then to scale, you had to delegate, which you've done in your own business today. And I love the fact that you both are like almost talent evaluators, because you realize where people's strengths are and you don't want people wearing multiple hats. And that's very important as a business owner. Multiple hats doesn't work. And then the fact that you're doing this almost to increase your potential later for what you really, really want to do. People are not thinking about that. They investors or realtors or anybody out there, they're thinking this is the asset that we're building. Like these are the things we're doing. You have an asset to build more assets. It's like another machine to get to a machine, which is incredible for you. It's amazing. So when you're doing these deals, we got to talk about this because this is going to be juicy stuff. When you're doing your deals, G, you were even talking about how you were getting the attention of sellers, right? This is valuable stuff for people to know. You were doing mailers, you were doing marketing. At the time, I'm sure you were doing one method, but what marketing strategies have you all found at Cash Geeks that has worked or used to work? Maybe the old is new or new is now old. Texting, mailing, door knocking, sticky note stuff. Marketing, talk to us.
Oh, the sticky note campaign.
Oh yeah.
So when we first started out, right, the go-to was just mailers. That's what I was exposed to. That's what I was doing before. So that's what we did, right? And we started the business in 2017. Wholesaling in the last 3 years has changed incredibly, right? And when we started, we were just doing mailers, sending out postcards, we were sending out letters, and then we dabbled a little bit into cold calling because it was becoming a thing out there. And so we dabbled a little bit into cold calling and it worked, right? And then the cost of cold calling was way lower than direct mail. And it's a lot easier to send direct mail pieces than to cold call, right? It's easier to push a button and get inbound calls than to call all day, right? So two reasons why I believe we switched to cold calling is number one, obviously the cost of it, but then also the challenge of scaling it. And we love the challenge of scaling it because it's what most aren't going to do, right? The reason why people start off cold calling is because it's the most affordable, right? Or text blasting or whatever. And then once they get some money, now they want to do PPC and direct mail because it costs more, but it's going to take less time, right? And so a lot of people phase out of cold calling. And we wanted to build, I still think secretly, like our goal one day is to just go to like Costa Rica, buy a building or build a building and just build a call center out there, because we do a lot of cold calling and we have a lot of people all over the world, right? So we went from direct mail, we started cold calling, and we started doing a lot more cold calling, and it just got to the point where we put all of our marketing budget into cold calling, and then we stopped direct mail. So we haven't done direct mail in years now. Then as we built the cold calling, we also added some online marketing, PPC stuff, SEO stuff. So we get leads through that. And we're incorporating now text blasting, and
there's a million different ways.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
You both know what you're doing when it comes to this stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's working.
It's a lot of trial and error, but
a lot of trial and error. Those are our marketing channels. We're always refining the lists that we're calling, figuring out what list is better. We got to the point where we were just dialing anybody in Jacksonville. Then we refined it down again. So it's continuously the marketing. So there's two sides to marketing, right? There's the marketing, I guess, the channel, right? How you're marketing, whether it's cold calling, direct mail, whatever. And then it's who you're marketing to, right? So both of those are constantly changing. And our marketing approaches haven't changed, but the people that we're marketing to have changed. And then there might be a time where the people that we're marketing to doesn't change, but the way we're marketing to those people might change, right? So we're always juggling that, right? And all right, let's change the people that we're marketing to cold calling. All right, that didn't work. Let's, refine down the people that we're cold calling to, and then we're going to incorporate direct mail again. Let's try to mail to these specific people, right? Stuff like that. So that's our marketing department, and that's what our project manager helps us to do a lot.
That's great. I mean, you're shifting your strategies. You're going one way. You're trying different things. You have to try it. Even I've seen it in our business. I mean, what's the approach? Is it being out in front of everybody all the time? Is it just explaining it? Was it one-on-one? It's sort of the same kind of concept. How are you going to get clients? How are you going to get sellers? So when you're doing these mailers and you're doing the marketing, what niches are you kind of getting into? And I don't know if this is going into pivoting your business. Maybe one time you were doing pre-foreclosures, next time you're doing more probates or tax delinquents, but niches or diving into deep niches and using those marketing strategies is very important. It depends on what it is. If it's probate, do you get them by mail or do you get them by cold call? What have you seen work for you? And if this gets into pivoting your business, which we have to talk about, let me know.
Right. Yeah. A lot of basically for anyone that's starting out, you're probably going to want to get as dialed in as possible with regards to the type of volume that you can handle. Right. So you can get really specific with this stuff. So, you talked about niches, right? So the niches could be pre-foreclosure, they could be probate. Just absentee properties are a niche, vacant properties are a niche. There's, you can go as far as getting a list of people whose water was turned off. There's some very unique things out there that you can get a hold of, and then people can take these different niche types, they can combine them so they can see where the replication is, so that in a sense you can get someone who might be in pre-foreclosure, they have 2 or 3 years back taxes on their property and their water is turned off. And whatever, and the property's vacant, right? So you might get 4 levels of motivation, and it might be a good idea if someone's just starting out, you might want to combine those down Instead of having a list of 20,000 people, you refine it down to 200 people who have multiple levels of motivation. And then as you start growing your company and hiring on personnel and whatever the thing is, you might have to get a little bit more broad, cover more territory so that you have more opportunity to do more deals. So there's a lot of different ways. We're getting to be a little bit more broad now. We need to have a lot of data, and we need to kind of guerrilla market, kind of barrel through the data. And that's kind of what we're doing at this point. So still very heavy in cold calling. That's like kind of our thing, right? We're always tweaking it. Even we've been in business about 3.5 years or so now. We're still tweaking the process. Like it's probably, I don't think it's ever not going to get tweaked based on the market and what's going on and the pivoting that we have to do. But it's at the point now where we're pretty good at what we do. We have to do less like aggressive changes, and now it'll just be minor tweaks here and there.
Yeah, and what Dom's talking about is the path of growing, the path of scaling, right? Is we kind of like, I don't know if this is even the word for it, but we de-niched, if that makes sense. So in the beginning, like Dom said, target, laser focus, but as we scaled and we grew, there's only so many deals you can do in this list, right? So like I said, we got to the point where we were just dialing everybody. And so over time, we've gotten less, like we get probate deals. We're not really targeting those probate deals. We're just targeting everybody. And we happen to get probate deals because of the people that we're targeting. So yeah.
Yeah. And pivoting in your business comes with marketing. It comes with the type of lead that you're targeting. So the pre-foreclosures, tax delinquents, but more importantly, the markets that you are tackling too, because you may tap out of one particular market because you're not either getting a response or it's been okay, but you want to expand and you're scaling at the same time, you're delegating. So which markets, and talk to us about Tampa, we kind of a little bit before, but which markets, and it could be outside of Florida, are you diving deeper into? Which ones you see growing a little bit more? I think I've seen you both a little bit more in San Antonio, Texas, or growing, I don't know where else, but which ones are you seeing heating up or pivoting for you?
So obviously Duval County, Jacksonville, it's our home market. It's where we are. It's where we do our most deals. We're probably doing about 15 to 20 a month here in Duval County, Florida. And I know, when we compare what we're doing to a lot of the bigger players in the nation, it's a commonality to get more and more involved in more of an omnipresence in marketing. So cold calling itself isn't just going to cut it, so that's why when G talked about other forms of marketing like digital marketing, SEM, SEO, PPC, obviously we're doing cold calling, implementing text, potentially maybe some targeted direct mail in the future, social media marketing. There's so many things to get involved now. I wouldn't recommend, especially for people that are starting, to adopt all of those strategies. I think you don't only have to get good at strategies, you should get great at strategies before adopting new ones. But like, if you want to do more in one market, omnipresence marketing is what it's going to take. Because, hiring more salespeople, there's a lot of things people can do that's reckless, but it all starts, like the heart of the business all starts with marketing, right? So if you can pull in that lead flow, then you can substantiate reasons to start building out the rest of your company.
Yeah, you are both looking to scale and keep going, so you really have to find which markets are working. Of course, Jacksonville, I'm from Miami, and Miami's just saturated with home prices. You can't find another lot until you go out into like Southwest Ranches and Broward County, or you can't really find anything there that's going to be worth it. But then you come up to Jacksonville, an amazing market. There's plenty of room to roar and run. Then Tampa, then you maybe have the Panhandle. So I'm sure there's different markets that you keep going into, but then you finally get these deals, right? Like you get a seller that finally calls and says, Dom, G, I got this house. I really want to sell. And you have no idea what's really going on. You get under contract after you've looked at it. But now that you've got the deal, what's been one of the most important tips to lock up your deals and really work it with the seller?
So I can just name something offhand because we've had you here in the office. We've had you run a training session with our team. That opened up a lot, especially on the probate side. I think one of the cool things with probate deals is, for us to initiate getting the contract signed with the parties, but not only, if someone passes away and the property gets passed down to the heirs and there are 3 kids, right? And one wants to sell, we can start getting it signed with that one individual, but we need signatures from the other 2 individuals as well.
Boy,
right?
this training's working. All right.
Yeah, and
Look at this.
And it's amazing because a lot of times there's multiple levels of heirship based on the scenario. We can go into that a little bit more, but I think once you know how probate works, it gives us the tools that we need to get more deals done, or at least get them done in the right way, because the last thing that we want to do is contract a deal with a property owner, get an investor involved to buy that deal, go to closing, and then the title company can't close it because we don't have all the agreements from all the correct parties.
Right. And that in itself could be another segment that I have of biggest deal killers. It's not always just the contract that you're under with the heirs, with the sellers, but it could be title. It could be something like the probate that comes up. What have you both seen, either when you first started or now, that have been some of the biggest deal killers in your industry? And this kind of leads into what you did want to talk about, maybe overcoming deal challenges. What have they been?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest deal killers. So there's 2, I would say.
Dogs in the front yard.
Dogs in the front yard is a deal killer. Right.
But I have 2 scenarios as of late with dogs in the front yard.
So there's 2 kinds of spots where the deal can be killed, right? I know you mentioned earlier, after we look at it, we put the property under contract. So we actually do that reverse. So we put it under contract before we go and look at it, right? So when we put a property under contract, right, and then we go to set up the appointment and we go to look at it, we find out that there's a squatter there, or we find out that there's people living in there who have been paying rent to somebody, and it isn't the owner that we have the contract with, right? So it's just figuring stuff out like that. Problem tenants, people not letting us in. They're for us. We'll put up a fight and we'll find a solution. So for us, they're more like deal delayers, right, and not really deal killers. But for a lot of people just getting started out and they don't really know how to handle these situations, if you have a tenant who is saying, hey, I'm not going to let you in my property. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what the owner is doing or selling or whatever. I'm not going to let you in the house, right? For us as a wholesaler, it makes it very tough for us to, number one, even get in to do our initial inspection and be able to market the property out with the pictures. And then number 2, bring by our investor partners who are going to purchase the property, right? So those can be deal killers. In our world as wholesalers is access to the properties, right? Sometimes either because of a tenant or because of a seller, they're just like, yo, you guys have been in here twice already. Why do you have to come a 3rd time, right? I'm not letting you in a 3rd time. Basically, that might kill the deal, right? We've had deals where we can't get back in. The people that we have gotten back in don't want it, or their offer doesn't work. The seller isn't renegotiable. If we could get back in, maybe we can make the deal work, but because the seller isn't going to let us back in, we lose the deal, right? So that has been a deal killer for us, is even just access to the properties, right? Whereas a flipper or a buy and hold person, right, they might walk into a property one time and say, okay, I'm taking it, this is my number. As a wholesaler, I have to go in at least 2 or 3 times, right? I have to go in myself as the wholesaler the first time to market the property, to get the pictures, and then the second time with my partner investors, right? And then if the first round of partner investors don't want it, or what they offer isn't good enough, then I'm gonna have to come back another time, right? And stuff like that. So access for us has killed deals. Another deal killer is what you said, title, right? We're running into this actually in San Antonio, and it's causing us to pivot a little bit, which is why we expanded into Tampa. We're still gonna, stay in San Antonio and continue to try and grow there and stuff like that, and do deals. And we've done deals there and we're continuing to do deals, but we're running into a lot of title issues that aren't resolvable. And so we've had deals fall through over there more so than here in Jacksonville. And that can also be a deal killer, is title, right, is the title. You know, sometimes for example, once we put a property under contract, the deed had a restriction on the deed that the person who owned it had to live in it for 5 years, right? So
And it
now,
might be 3 years now.
yeah, it might be 2 years into it, and if they sell it, whoever they sell it to has to be their primary residence. And so we didn't see that going into it, and now that killed the deal, because you know the person who's going to buy this $10,000 house in '09 is a rental owner. You know, they're going to buy it as a rental property, and the deed won't let them rent it out for a total of 5 years. So maybe the owner that we're trying to buy it from has 1 year into it. Now there's 4 years left. That might kill the deal, right? Or it has killed deals, right? So different things on title could kill a deal. But that's where, you know, kind of one of the things that we wanted to talk about was just figuring out a way to make the deal work rather than giving up. And we've had title companies tell us this deal is not going to work. I would walk away from this deal. We've tried to close this property in the past. It's not going to work. And we have found a way and closed those deals.
Mm-hmm.
So just when it comes to title or squatters or whatever, right? It's how can we make this work rather than, all right, this is a headache, or, you know, this isn't going to work. The seller might say, yeah, the tenants aren't going to let you in. I've been trying to get into the property for 6 months. They won't even let me go. I can't sell it because they won't let me in. Well, let's sign the contract. We'll handle the squatter. We'll handle the tenant, right? Or some people saying, even now, we had one guy in San Antonio, he knew he had 7 cousins that they were going to, that his 7 cousins all had to sign. He knew that going into it, and he didn't want to sign the contract because he didn't want to go through the headache of getting all the cousins to sign, reaching out to everybody, blah, blah, blah. So we're doing that work for him. He's telling us who they are. We're going to find them. We're going to get their contact information, and we're going to get them to sign. So because of doing that, he, you know, signed the contract, and now we're going to close that deal, right? So there are a lot of potential deal killers that are really just deal delayers, right? And you just have to grind, figure it out. Let's do some research. Let's look this person up on Facebook. Let's send them up a message on Facebook. Let's go door knock the son of this person, whatever you got to do. Let's offer this squatter $2,000, right? If I'm making 10 grand on a deal, and the squatter saying, I'm not leaving unless you give me $2,000, some people might be like, F you, I'm not giving you $2,000. I'm out, right? We're just like, shit,
Right.
Making 10 grand. Let's just take the $2,000 out of that deal. We'll pay them at closing, or we'll do some cash for keys, and then we'll call it a day, right? We've had squatters. We've gone to the property. We offer the squatter $500 if we do sell the house. So you have to let me come by with my partners as many times as I need. Don't put up any fight. And if we sell it, I'll give you $500.
Yeah, and that's a gold nugget right there, because some people might not think to do that.
Right.
They will take those deals.
Yes.
Yeah, more times than none.
Yep.
Yeah, more so than getting a lawyer and doing an unlawful detainer action, trying to kicking them out, which adds up in costs and fees. You could just offer them something just to get out.
Yep,
Absolutely.
yep. And time kills deals, right? So if we have to hire an attorney to do the eviction, to do this, like the seller might change their mind. You know, they might do whatever. Now we got another fire to put out. So it's just like, let's just us work it out. Before you don't even file an eviction. They're like, yeah, I can file an eviction. Like, don't file the eviction yet. Let us go over there and we'll offer them $300 and they might be out in a week, you know?
If you can always find a solution to these things before you have to get to that level, exhaust them. At least try and figure it out before you have to get the lawyer involved, which is, I mean, those are great tips from you two that are just killing it out there. You know, before we keep spiraling, I just want to point out, that was a great story about Texas being different than Florida when it came to some of these title issues, and how you can close these deals in Florida better than you can out of state. And a lot of my show, or my entire show, is Florida real estate stuff. So people that are interested in Florida got a little tidbit about how, whoa, Texas is a little bit different. Maybe these out-of-state places are a little bit different. And so Florida is just there's better creative ways to get things done, like in that deal with the 7 cousins, in Florida. We've talked about this on the People's Wholesaler show. Partitions available, things like that.
Right.
Different solutions are available. Maybe the probate one wants to sell, the other doesn't, the whole shebang. But most importantly, about access. How are you building trusts with the sellers, though, when it comes to the access? Like, what is the smooth talking, silver tongue Dom and G doing with these sellers that says, look, we're really trying to help you here. We're not trying to be an impediment to your life. We're not trying to, come on here and now we have full access. How are you getting really comfortable with them and helping them open up? Because so many people, it's not just about deals. It's not about title contracts. It's about personalities. Different people have different levels of patience, and there's temperaments, right? So people can be just crazy and off the rocker, but how are you building that trust?
I think two things that I want to point out with that is you have to speak with high confidence with whatever you do. People sense that if you're confident, they're going to flow with it. And then the second thing is being very, very direct and honest with everyone. They could also smell a liar, right? So if you're going to try to dance around the true reason that you need something done, they're going to sense that something's fishy because, at this point, like if someone is sensible enough to the fact that they've bought their own house and they're a homeowner or a property owner, whatever the case may be, they've been around the block a couple of times, you just have to be very, very direct. So in a lot of cases, we'll just be very direct and say, listen, we're buying your property, but we do need investor approval, right? We're going to have to get in and out of the house 2 or 3 times, 3 or 4 times with our investor partners so we can get this closed out. You just be very direct, very upfront. Everything else later on down the line goes a lot smoother.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say is just setting up the proper expectations in the beginning goes a long way in putting out and having to not even deal with fires throughout the process. If you let them know exactly what the process is going to look like from the beginning, it allows you to answer any questions right there and then, rather than them coming up or becoming a hindrance later, right?
Yep.
So that's number one. And then what I think is number 2 is the myth of the shark closer, right? Everybody thinks the shark closer is some stud who can negotiate a seller, get whatever they want, make the seller do whatever they want. The real shark closer is a pushover, is letting the seller tell us what to do, right? Making the seller feel like you're in charge, right? You're in charge. We're going to make, yes, we can do that. Or I'm so sorry. It's the sweet talker. It's the tonality. It's not the big bad guy who, hey, 40,000 is my number. You want it? No? All right, I'm out. Or, well, you should have taken it because I'm going to pay the closing costs, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's not the guy that's getting the deals.
Yeah, nobody wants to be pushed over, told what to do, anything.
Right.
Yeah. And so Al, man, we're hosing down these houses before someone lights the match, right? We're setting up the proper expectations to put out fires before they happen.
Oh, absolutely. You have to develop expectations, and that leads to efficiency. That leads to, time valuation. Are we just going to move on from this, or what are we doing? What's happening with it? And I'm a big believer about that in my business. I've talked to you both about that. What do we have to know up front? What's happening in the probate? What's going on here? What's going on there? So before we get into how you both are leaders of clubs in the communities, because you now have the People's Wholesalers and Jack's REIF, we have to talk about probate. We have to cover this.
Yes, let's do it.
Pre-Al Nicoletti, I don't know what was going on.
I don't even want to talk about that, Al.
I don't know what was happening. Everybody was like, whoa, what's going on with this guy? But many of you have been through all the probate stuff, many investors in Jacksonville, Florida, wherever. And probate always ends up being like the nightmare, it's going to take 12 months. And then, we do the seminars. I come in, I talk to you, do the training stuff. What have you found about probate before I was here? And then now, what is probate to you both today?
Yeah, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but it was interpreted as a long-term process, right? It's like we didn't even want to deal with probate deals or pull specific probate lists because And a lot of this is hearsay, and then we've been proven wrong. But it felt like that, it's a minimum 2 or 3 months, if not longer. And you hear horror stories about 1 to 2 years or so, based on whatever the scenarios are. And that's what we felt in the beginning in real estate. And then when out of nowhere, Al Nicoletti comes into town and he's talking about probate in a couple of days, we're like, does that even make sense until it actually happens?
Scam. This guy from Miami is a scam.
Yeah. And he's from Miami too.
Yeah, can't trust that guy.
Opalaka,
Yeah. So then when it actually starts happening and closing within a couple of days, within a week or two, like it's a dream come true. Like it all starts making way more sense at that point.
Yeah, and probate isn't also, it's a deal killer on the buyer side as well, right? Because buyers, they need to buy the properties. They can't wait 3 months for a property to go through probate for them to be able to get clear title, stuff like that. So that's another reason why we didn't like probate properties, is because we felt like when we marketed the property, we had to get a buyer who was willing to wait 3 to 6 months in order to get this deal going. And that killed a lot of deals for us, because it wasn't that because the probate killed the deal, because the sellers didn't want to do the probate process or whatever. It was because it was going to take 3 months. And so the buyer who wanted it, who was willing to close in, 2 weeks, now I can't start this project for another 3 months. I don't want this project. Mm-hmm. So it disqualified a lot of the buyers that could potentially buy this property, right? And so we had many instances where probates took 6 months, probates took a year, right? And so it just became this undesirable process. And I think a lot of it has to do, this is just my assumption from the outside looking in, is you talk a lot about getting the approval. Let's start the process and let's get the approval to sell the house. That will take that's quick, right? And I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like the other places that we were doing probate with, they were waiting for the whole probate thing to finish and then get the sale, right? I feel like that could be part of the reason why it was super delayed, right? And then why one of them went out to a year and why the other was only 4 months compared to the 12 months is because that probate finished in 4 months. They reached out to all the creditors and all that stuff, and that was done. This one took maybe 12 months because there were some disputes. This person had this, whatever. So they weren't initiating the probate and then just getting the approval to sell the house. Those funds are going to be in that probate trust or whatever. They'll deal with that later. We just need to sell the house, right?
And then we're not inside of these other businesses and practices and things like that. So we don't always know what's going on. But when you start getting the service equivalent to what Al Nicoletti provides, then you start thinking like, are other attorneys overloaded? Or are they prioritizing higher dollar value cases before the probate situation, so that gets put on the back burner instead of just getting attacked and pushed and knocked out really, really quick, like how you do?
Efficiency, right? And just being like, hey, can we get in this? Can we get out of this? Let's do this thing, right? It's not about just sitting on the file. I mean, so many themes that I love what you both are talking about. You're not alone when it comes to that. We thought we had to wait until the end. I even interviewed Gina Dodson yesterday. And when she first opened up, she had a great hook point about how she was able to close a deal and the probate wasn't even done. And I was like, wait a minute, probate started, right? Like probate happened. And she said, oh yeah, probate happened. It initiated, but they got the order, but the probate itself wasn't closed. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we do. I mean, like there's different creative ways to do this. I mean, of course we want to make it simple, quick, and done. But if we have to do the whole personal representative thing, we have to. But I even learned from deals that we've done that just we don't want to even deal with that PR that much anymore. But I think that you've both seen the efficiency behind all of it. And yeah, Dom, it's just it opens your eyes, right, to like a different market, a different thing. And you're going to Tampa, you're still tackling Florida. And I think, based upon what you both are saying about how some states are, I think eventually you both will come to the table and go, what are we doing? We really need to just keep killing the Florida market and keep tackling.
That already happened. That's why we picked Tampa.
Yeah, you realize
Yep.
it. So
Yep.
that's exactly what's happening. All right. So leaders of clubs in their communities is you two. You both are incredible at getting people together. You at Yellowbird, you were the ambassadors and getting people together when it was happening. And I think you both realized, wait a second, we're doing our People's Wholesaler show. So we got like 30 to 60 people that are watching every Tuesday night, and you want your own group. And so when I showed up to the Jack's REAF meeting the other day, you had said something about how the group was owned by somebody else, and then you and Dom just bought it. And I was like, wait a second, really? I had no idea that you two had bought it. You know how many people always are looking to create a group, create a leadership group, create an investing group, and you two got it. I mean, you have the Jack's REIF group, which is established, known here. So talk to us about that process and what made you all do it, and what practices are you doing to increase the attendance, increase bringing knowledge and education? I know, Dom, you want to say something on this.
Well, I don't even know if it was for sale when we bought it.
Yeah, well, that's what I was. It just kind of fell on our lap.
Yeah. Was it offered to us or did we ask for it?
It was
I don't
offered
remember.
to us.
Okay, it was offered to us.
And we weren't even the first pick. We weren't
Really?
even the first person
Well,
they
the
offered it
crazy
to.
thing is when we purchased the group, Al, it was around February going into March of the year, right? So we purchased it. We were intrigued. We negotiated a price, and then we were ready to go to work to planning our meetups, right? And then we all know what happened in March going into April. COVID hits. So we just bought this group that was established, that had a lot of interest and a lot of attendees from month to month. We couldn't even really use it. So we brainstormed on what are we going to do with it from month to month, and we decided, because we do the People's Wholesaler show every Tuesday, and then you got to start to look at the other active groups in our market, like what days, what weeks of the month, what days of the month they are, how can we position ourselves on a good day, a good week, so that we get the most attention as possible. Obviously, attention is equivalent to potential success, and networking is equivalent to potential success, and things of that sort. So we picked the second Tuesday of every month. And then, so now, if a month has 4 weeks, we do our online wholesale show 3 weeks. And then 1 week we do the live meetup. And if it has 5, then we have 4 weeks where we do the wholesale show, and 1 with the live meetup. But it's the second Tuesday of every month. So what we were doing was, because we couldn't meet up live, we were able to do, because we're a fan of panels, right? Panels of professionals. You get them on the panel, you get to interview them. It gives a whole ton of really good value to anyone who's attending or watching. So we're a huge fan of that. So we said, you know what, we're gonna do a panel, and if everyone's comfortable and we take the right precautions, the panel can come into the hotel room where we hold the meetup, and then we'll just film those panels live, right? So that the people can kind of still get that panel without having to meet up, and then they can just view us in our Facebook group. So we've done it that way over the last several months, until just this past Tuesday, where we had the first live reintroduction to the first live meetup here in the market. So for the Jack's Reef.
But I love what you two are doing is you're getting down to straightforward. We're bringing big people on. I mean, you had Alex Safakis, Kyle Paskowitz, Pat Flynn, and then you just had that realtor panel with CC, Jana, Brandon.
Active,
I mean,
yeah.
these are not just, oh, I'm a realtor, I do this. These are big, high volume people that if you're interested in investing and you're interested in getting in this market, these are big people. And I love how you're just like, yeah, we're doing a panel. It's these people come, many people that want to create groups strive to do that, but you were able to take over something that was there that had this potential and just grow, right, G?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, kind of like what you're saying or what you asked, like, what are our plans to grow and to pack the room and stuff like that, is exactly what you just said. It's bringing power players on, right? Bringing real powerhouses here in Jacksonville to educate. And we found that when we have either a super hot topic or a very known person in the community, it packs the room out, right? We have a lot of people watching us on the Facebook Live. So that's kind of the model that we want to get into, is bringing on big names or talking about hot topics, and we want it to become kind of like an educational platform for local investors here in Jacksonville, right? Because we have a Facebook community. We have the other group, the People's Wholesalers. We have that Facebook group, and it's a group focused, specifically for wholesalers, people trying to get into wholesaling, learn about wholesaling, and we do have investors in there and stuff like that. But the intention of that group was to teach others how to wholesale, right? So that group kind of became, and it's nationwide, right? And we saw the activity in our group, and we have a lot of people in that group. And then when we did the Jack's Reef, and the amount of people in that group is a lot lower, but the activity when we go live there in that Facebook group is just as much, if not more, than our other group, right? It has to do with that local community, right? Which is what you're talking about, right? That local community, we know that our success is because of what we've done in the community, right? Getting our name out there. When I first got started, networking is huge, right? So putting yourself out there, staying in front of people is the name of the game, right? And so we got into education, we did coaching programs, we did all of that stuff, right? We got out of it because we were losing focus on our baby, right? Which is Cash Geeks, right? And when we stopped education, we knew that we had to keep one thing, and that's our show, right? We knew we had to keep the Facebook group and our show to stay in front of people, right? Because even though that was how we were funneling people into our education business, right? That was the point of that show, right? Was to educate and then get coaching students, right? We knew we have to keep that show, even if we're not selling any coaching program or anything like that, we're going to do it for free. And we knew that we have to keep doing it, even if we're not getting into coaching, just to brand ourselves, just to stay in front of the people in our community. It helps with hiring, right? People work for us because they see us on the show, right? It helps with credibility, with investors, right? Whatever it is, it's helped with relationships. People bring us deals. We met you at a networking event, stuff like that.
I think another thing is it just feels good too. It feels good. It's helping people. It's giving back to the community. It's educating people for free. And it really does feel good because, we work long hours out, as I'm sure you do. We're in early every day. We're after, before all the employees get here, after all the employees leave. This is our baby. We're trying to build a monster, right? Who wants to stay until after 10 at night doing another show, right? But once we do it and it's done, we're like, so glad we stayed and we've got that done.
Right.
But talk to us about that People's Wholesaler show, because that's a big show every Tuesday night.
Yep.
Well, now 3 times a month, and then you got Jack's REIF. But talk to us about that, because every show you do is different. So everybody out there watching and listening to this on the podcast and the video, they do a show, the People's Wholesalers. It's on at 9 p.m. Every Tuesday night, and they talk about flips, fixes, rehabs, wholesaling, bringing me on, and just bringing different people on that have different niches in their own industries and learning from it. And people can be at home in front of the Facebook group. And that's a baby on its own for you two, because it's consistent. So many themes you both talk about is consistency and continuing to do it, being in front of everybody. That aligns with what I do, right? It's constantly being in front of people. You got to have image branding. That in and of itself is so important, because not only do people know you just locally, people know you all in Naples, in Miami, in Arizona, in New York. I mean, you're out there. So talk to us about the show.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, right? Or the purpose of that show is to continue to put out our brand and consistency, right? We started the show when we got into education. We got out of education, but we knew we had to keep the show. The show is valuable no matter what. The show will help out this baby rather than the education.
Yeah,
business,
and it's an immeasurable value. You
Correct.
can't really measure it, but the type of value that it brings just in your gut.
Right. The goal of that show is to number one, stay consistent, right? We do it late at night because we like to unwind, right? So we have some drinks when we're on the show, we're hanging out, it's very laid back, and we want to bring up a new topic every single time, right? And now it is a challenge because we've done like every single topic ever. So before it was easy to brainstorm what we were going to talk about. Now it's like, we already talked about that. All right, should we bring this up? Oh, we already have a segment on that. So sometimes it's recycling and, recycling something that we talked about, because maybe a year ago when we did that episode, we didn't know about this, or we were using this program and now we're using this program or whatever, right?
I love that structure, dude.
Yeah, it's just putting our name out there, not only for the local community, but also, a nationwide brand that can help us in the long term where we see ourselves going. And yeah, you're right. Dom and I, we go to a lot of events all over the country, and sometimes we'll talk to somebody in San Antonio, Texas, or in Arizona or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh, dude, I watch your show. I watch you every Tuesday night." I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even know this. I don't even know this.
And it's funny because a lot of times when you post the show on social media and there's likes and there's comments, you'll look through the comments, you'll look through the likes, and you'll see the typical people that like and comment on your show. But there's a whole world of people that are watching you that you don't know are watching you. Because of exactly what Gonzalo said. We're very active in traveling to go to seminars and education and groups and networking and all of that stuff. And it's specific to our industry. So I don't know if there's ever any one time where there's not one or two, or at least a couple of people that are following us and that are watching our show and that are thanking us because of all the help that we're giving out. So I think that's amazing, and it feels great.
Yeah, you're just in front of people constantly. And I even get the notifications, and I can even tell that you want to make sure everybody gets the push notification, everybody gets the messenger, everybody gets it's posted in every group, Yellowbird, People's Wholesaler. So you both do an amazing job pushing content and social media out there. I know you have an amazing team doing it. So everybody that wants to watch the People's Wholesalers, they talk about an array of stuff, and I love it. Recycle. Who cares? Talk about the same things over and over again. You know why? Because it nails it down. It makes you all look like experts, and bringing certain people on that are just experts in your community and experts in the market that you're tackling. So I've even realized that myself. At the end of the day, even if I'm talking about probate, quiet title partitions over and over and over again, it saturates people's minds. It gets people thinking, wow, these guys know what they're talking about when it comes to this. So I love that you recycle and do all of this stuff. And I'm going to conclude this and let you both go, because I know you both are really busy on getting deals and putting out fires. But for people that are getting into it, what are some things that you wish you would have known, now that you wish you would have known when starting all of this, whether it's having the show, the clubs, the wholesaling, the partnership? What are things you wish you would have known?
So me getting into it, there's a couple of things, right? But the first thing is I wish I would have thought bigger, right? Getting started. I was thinking very small. It is, you start. Sometimes it's tough to think big because you can only think in the level of the things that you've been exposed to, right? So when I was 19 getting started, I was exposed to people wanting to make 6 figures a year, right? I want to make 6 figures a year. That's a big thing, right? So I'm getting into the game. Then I start learning from companies that are making 6 figures a month, right? And then there's other companies making, 8 figures a month. So getting started, I wish I would have thought bigger and didn't limit myself to, just wanting to make 6. And the thing is, like, wanting to make 6 figures and making 6 figures a year, and that's what you want, and that's, who you are, like, that's freaking great, right? If you're making 6 figures, I mean, you're way better off than most of, the rest of the US, let alone the world, right? But in the beginning, I was thinking, I want a rental. I want a couple rental properties so that they can net me $2,000 a month. And by 22, I'll never have to work a day in my life, right? Like, that's how I was thinking, right? And it's awesome. And that, for some people that might be great, and that's your dream and that's what you're going to do, and perfect, But for me, as I was getting, meeting more people and just getting exposed to what's really possible especially in this industry, right? And I can rub elbows with the people doing it, right? And they're willing to share how they got there. So that's one of the biggest things, right? At least for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, I wish I would have known probate didn't take 12 months, right? I wish I knew they could only take 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I mean, I think there was a deal that we did that we closed in a month and you did 2 probates in that deal.
3 days.
You had to do 1 probate. And then after that probate was done, you had to do another probate because of that probate. And then we closed it. So it was like a couple of days to do the first probate, couple of days to do the second probate. And
then we have to coordinate the close.
And then we were closing. So I'm just like, shit, how many deals could we have done, with probates not taking 12 months, 6 months, 8 months, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things I wish I would have known.
Oh, that's
wish
great.
I love Al. Wish I would have known Al for sure.
There we go, Dom.
As for me, it's more of a general kind of thing that I basically, we kind of, the way we built our company out and all of the departments and the roles that we have, we've always kind of had that thought, even in the beginning, of creating this assembly line that the deal goes through to get to the end to close, and having certain roles, just certain individuals be experts in their roles in that part of the deal. So we kind of always had that, but there have been all of these little minor tweaks that have made the biggest difference in our business. We've even, as of recent, had made some major tweaks to acquisition requirements and scripting that are reinforcing things that are making a tremendous difference in our business right now. So it's all those minor tweaks that we learn over time from ourselves, and by educating ourselves, by learning from people that are doing what we're doing on a way larger scale. And in it, we, as business owners, we all have to be patient, because a lot of these things take time. Everyone wants to rush. I want to make $1 million today, but it's going to come with persistence, but it will take time. And I just wish I had known all of those little nuances and the intricacies and things like that at a lot sooner time frame.
Would you say that it would benefit people working for a company like Cash Geeks, seeing the ins and outs of a lot of these things early on, maybe, mentoring or shadowing? Would you say that would be something as well?
I would say, yeah, if someone had the opportunity to get into a company for the purpose of mentorship and to see it firsthand, then that would be priceless. Now, would we allow that? It would be a whole nother conversation.
That's why there was nothing going on when I asked that question. I gotcha. Well, hey, you two are amazing. There's so many people that would want to find you when we pump this out. So how do people get a hold of you? Who are you looking for to connect with you? So if they watch this, we're looking for buyers or fix and flip guys, or who are you looking for, and how can people get in touch with you?
Cool. So my name is Gonzalo Corzo on Facebook. Look that up. Add me as a friend. On Instagram, my handle is Real Gonzalo Corzo. So at Real Gonzalo Corzo, you can find me there. My email is gonzalo@cashgeeks.com, Gonzalo @cashgeeks.com. And the people that I'm looking to connect with are investors and wholesalers, right? So if you're an investor and you're looking for fix and flip deals, or you're looking for buy and hold deals, or whatever it is, right? I'm looking to connect with investors who are looking for deals. And then I'm also looking to connect with wholesalers who have deals, because I have a ton of buyers, and we work with a lot of wholesalers here in the community, which is another reason why we do the branding and the groups and the networking events and all that, is because deals can be done together, right? So we partner up with a lot of wholesalers because they're out there getting the deals, but over the years, and because of the amount of volume, we've been able to build a great buyers list. And so that allows us to do deals with other wholesalers, because they went out and they hunted the deal and they put the property under contract, but they only have a list of, maybe 10 buyers, none of them want it. Now I got to back out of this deal. Mm-hmm. Well, instead of backing out, or whatever, you know, come to us, we'll shop out the deal to our buyers, and, you know, most of the time we're successful with it.
So I agree with that. Those are the people that we're looking to connect with. And what I also want to add to that are realtors, right? Realtors are enormous. They're huge. We have great relationships with them. We work with very many of them and know a whole ton of them here in the local market. We have a high level of respect for them. And we do a lot of deals with realtors. We sell a lot of properties through realtors, and we're happy to cover their commissions. So a lot of wholesalers build a model of realtors having to add their fee on top, which is okay. Very, very few times do we have to fall into that because the spread is so thin. Most of the time, we will cover their commission inside of our fee so that the sellers and the buyers are taken care of without having to come up on the number, right? Additionally, I mean, realtors can sell deals through us as well. If they want us to buy their deals or look at their deals so that we can place it with one of our investors, so we can explore options like that also. We just bought a deal, and I don't know if we closed on it on Brandywine, but we just bought a deal that was on the market for 170 days, and we were able to buy it and sell it within about 4 days, I want to say.
Wow.
So they had title ready and everything, so we just placed it with someone we knew would facilitate the deal and brought it to close. So realtors, we're always looking to connect with great realtors.
Amazing that something that sat for so long, and then you two come along. Cash Geeks is like, all right, you know, how can we do this thing? And it's off the market, right? Like you are a solution, problem solving, creative company that really wants to help things grow and help people move and network, right? You are the ultimate culmination of everything that investors, movers, shakers, leaders of the clubs in your communities. But I love it. I love what you both are doing. And I really am so happy you came on. I got G. I pinned him down. He's on here. And thank you so much. Both of you. Loved having you on. And, you know, maybe we'll do it again in a year. You know, this is going to be pumping out constantly. So this is all the content's going to be out there. So thank you both for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Al.
All right, everybody, if you want more content like this, check out the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel. I have videos on probate, quiet titles, partitions, and all of the podcast shows that are going to be coming out. Comment, share, like, do all of those things. We want to hear your stories and experiences, and join us next time. I'll see you next time on the Al Nicoletti Show. Take care.